Hi, good morning. In continuation of part 1 of tax invoice, debit notes and credit notes, yesterday we have studied time to issue tax invoice in case of supply of goods, in case of supply of services, and refund voucher, receipt voucher, manner of issuing tax invoice, and how the HS and code details to be mentioned in case of turnover limits, and the contents of tax invoice and the contents of bill of supply. All we have discussed yesterday. Then today we are going to discuss one by one. That first is invoice and payment voucher. In case the tax is payable by the recipient on reverse charge basis, in such a case the payment voucher shall be issued by the recipient to the supplier. Previously, in case of receipt voucher, the supplier receives the advance for payment advance towards supply of goods or services. In such a case, the supplier shall issue the receipt voucher. But in case the recipient is liable to pay tax on reverse charge basis, in such a case, the recipient has to issue payment voucher. Now we can read. The recipient is liable to pay tax on reverse charge basis where he receives supply of such goods or services both which are notified for reverse charge purpose. Such supplies can be received from registered person and unregistered person. That means if any services are received from registered person or unregistered person, and such supplies are liable to pay tax on reverse charge mechanism by the recipient, so in such a case the recipient has to issue payment voucher. And one important concept we are going to discuss right now is builder or promoter. If any builder is promoter is constructing any buildings or commercial, whether it may be commercial complex or residential complex, in such a case the builder or promoter must purchase at least 80% of inputs and input services from the registered dealers only. That means what is the total inputs and input services? In that at least 80% shall purchase from the registered dealers. Any deficit is there to the extent of 80%, then in such a case any shortfall is there in relation to the extent of short of 80%. In such a case the shortfall, then the builder or promoter required to pay tax on reverse charge basis to meet the 80%. Understand? First I read and I discuss again. A builder or promoter must purchase 80% of inputs and input services used in supplying the service from registered persons. In case of shortfalls, he is required to pay tax under reverse charge on all such inward supplies to the extent of 80% of inward supplies from the registered supplies. And that means what is the total inputs and input services is 1 crore. At least 80%, that means 80 lakhs he has to purchase from registered dealers. Suppose he has purchased only 78 lakhs from registered dealers, then remaining 2 lakhs he has to pay tax on 2 lakhs on reverse charge basis. Understand? At least 80% should be from registered persons only. Should be purchased from the registered person. Any shortfall is there, then the builder is liable to pay tax on such amount on reverse charge basis only. Then second, where cement is received from an unregistered person, the promoter or builder has to pay tax on supply of such cement on reverse charge. Where any cement is purchased by the builder from unregistered dealer, in such a case the builder has to pay tax on such recipient of cement on reverse charge basis. That means the builder has to pay tax on cement purchased from unregistered dealer. Understand? Very first one, at least 80% of input shall be from the registered dealer. Second one, cement has to be purchased from the registered dealer only. Any cement is purchased from unregistered dealer, he has to pay tax on such cement supplies. Then GST and capital goods is payable by the promoter on reverse charge basis. Any capital goods purchased by the builder or promoter, he has to pay tax on reverse charge. That means he has to pay GST on reverse charge basis. 3 important points. First point is he should purchase at least 80% of inputs and input services from the registered persons. Second one, where any cement is purchased from registered dealers only. In case cement is purchased from unregistered dealer, he has to pay tax on reverse charges basis on such cement. And third one, GST and capital goods shall be payable by the promoter or the builder on reverse charge basis only. You understand? Then we go to next concept. This has already we have discussed. Beside a registered person who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge shall issue a payment voucher at the time of making payment to the supplier. If any supply on which liability to pay tax and reverse charge by the recipient, then in such a case the recipient has to issue payment voucher to the supplier. Okay. Just what is the contents and what are the details we have to mention payment voucher. It is as like tax invoice or something, or receipt voucher, refund voucher we have discussed. The same details we have to mention. Anyway, we have to discuss once again. Name and address of the GST and supplier if registered, a consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of its issue, name, address and GSTA number of the recipient, description of goods, amount paid, rate of tax, and amount of tax payable in respect of taxable goods or services. That is the same shall be separately mentioned in case of CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST or cess. Place of supply in case of interstate supply. Signature or digital signature of his or his authorized representative. Then next, delivery challan. Delivery challan means actually at the time of removal of goods only tax invoice shall be issued or bill of supply shall be issued. But here delivery challan, who are the persons are eligible to issue delivery challan and what are the contents we are going to mention in the delivery challan, now we are going to discuss. Rule 55 specifies the cases where at the time of removal of goods may be removed on delivery challan. These are provided in the following detail. What are the details we have to mention delivery challan? Who are the persons are issuing delivery challan? First, supply of liquid gas, where the quantity at the time of removal from the place of business of the supplier is not known. That means he is supplying of liquid gas and the quantity of such liquid gas is not known by the supplier at the time of removal. Second one, transportation of goods for job work. If any goods are sending by the principal to the job worker for job work purpose. Third one, transportation of goods for reason other than by way of supply. By way of supply means it is a sale. This is transportation of goods for reasons other than by way of supply, means maybe repairs. Repairs is not a supply. So it is a transportation of goods other than by way of supply means other than sale. Then fourth one, such other supplies as may be notified by the board. Such other supplies as may be notified by the board. That means in 4 cases we can issue DC. First is supply of liquid gas where the quantity at the time of removal of goods is not known by the supplier. Second case, transportation of goods by the principal to the job worker for job work purpose. Third case, transportation of goods for the reason other than supply. And fourth case, such other supplies as may be notified by the government. Here government means always central government. Then what are the details we have to mention? Delivery challan to be issued serial number not exceeding 16 characters in one or multiple cells at the time of removal of goods for transportation. Okay. Particulars of the delivery. What are the details we are going to mention in the delivery challan? Date and number of the delivery challan. Name, address, GST number of the consignor. If registered, consignor means who is sending the goods. Name, address, GST number of the or UAN of the consignee if registered. Consignee means who is receiving the goods. Consignor means who is sending the goods. Consignee means who is receiving the goods. Next one, HSN code and description of goods. Quantity, provisional where the exact quantity being supplied is not known. Next, quantity, provisional quantity we have to mention. If exact quantity you don't know, even though we have to mention some quantity. Taxable value, the tax rate and tax amount, and the CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, cess, it shall be separately mentioned. Where the transportation is supplied to the consignee. Then place of supply in case of interstate movement. signature or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized signature. This is nothing but only DC. In case of DC, liquid supply with liquid gas at the time of removal of goods, the quantity is not known. Transportation of goods by the job worker, transportation of goods for reasons other than by way of job, other than by way of supply. Such other supplies as may be notified about the. But all these 4 cases only DC can be issued. The contents are almost same as tax invoice. Yes. Next, delivery challan. Delivery challan shall be issued. Delivery challan shall be applicable only for supply of goods. It is not applicable for supply of services. In case of delivery challan shall be issued in triplicate. The manner of issuing delivery challan is it shall be issued in triplicate. Original for the consignor, original for the consignee, and duplicate for the transporter, and triplicate for the consignor. Again repeating, original for the consignor, duplicate for the transporter, and triplicate for the consignor. Consignor means who is sending the goods, consignee means who is receiving the goods. Understand? Next, declaration in e-way. Actually, in e-way bill, the details of tax invoice has to be mentioned. But in case of we are issuing delivery challan, in such a case, the details of delivery challan has to be mentioned in the e-way bill. When e-way bill is required? E-way bill is required if the value of goods exceeds 50,000. If the value of goods exceeds 50,000, then e-way bill is issued. In case of delivery challan issued, the details of delivery challan has to be mentioned in the e-way bill. I can read for better understanding. Declaration in e-way bill. Where goods are being transported on a delivery challan in lieu of invoice, the same shall be declared in e-way bill. In case of tax invoice details has to be mentioned. In case of delivery challan details has to be mentioned. Okay. Next, tax invoice is to be issued after delivery of goods, but actually invoice shall be issued on or before removal of goods. Any tax invoice shall be issued on or before removal of goods, but sometimes but in some cases, not regular, it's some very small nominal cases. If any goods are being transported without tax invoice, such a tax invoice shall be issued even after delivery of goods. Actually, tax invoice is to be issued before removal of goods, but some cases if we forget to issue tax invoice, in such a case tax invoice shall be issued even after delivery of goods. I can read right now. Where the goods being transported are for the purpose of supply, it is for supply to the recipient, but tax invoice could not be issued at the time of removal of goods for the purpose of supply. The supplier shall issue a tax invoice after the delivery of goods. Actually, that shall be issued before the delivery of goods. But the tax invoice could not be issued in such cases. Tax invoice shall be issued after the delivery of goods also. Understand? Okay. Next one. Goods transported in SKD or CKD condition or in batches or lots. That means SKD means semi-knocked condition. CKD means completely knocked condition. Any machinery is then, very big machinery is then. In one lorry, it is not able to transport all the mission. In such a case, it shall be scrapped or it shall be assembled in small parts. Then it shall be dispatched. In very big machine, just a minute, sorry, sometimes it happens, why I don't know, just a minute, what happened? Yes, where the goods are being transported in semi-knocked down or completely knocked down condition, in batches we can send. Just a minute, I don't know why sometimes it happens. We'll see what happened. Please wait for 2 minutes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Once again, I can start right now. Goods transported in SKD, CKD condition or in batches or lots. Because very big machine we can't able to bring the machine to transport in one time. In such a case, the machine can be removed in small parts, then it can be transported in batches or lots. In such a case, what is the procedure we are going to discuss? The supplier shall issue the complete invoice before dispatch of the first scheduled concern. Suppose if the machinery is transported in 3 times in a lorry, in first case, very first, the supplier shall issue the complete invoice before dispatch of the first consignment. At the before dispatch of the first consignment, the supplier shall issue the complete invoice. He shall issue the total consignment of the invoice. Total invoice. That is first 1, 2, 3 consignment we are sending. For all 3 consignment, he has to issue a consolidated complete invoice first. Then second, the supplier shall issue a delivery challan for each of the consignment giving reference of the invoice. Suppose in subsequent next consignment, then he shall issue a delivery challan. In such delivery challan, he shall mention the reference number of the invoice, original invoice. Already we have issued complete invoice. That invoice number, reference number has to mention in the delivery challan in subsequent consignment. And third one, copies of the corresponding delivery challan shall accompany each consignment along with duly certified copy of the invoice. That means copy of the corresponding delivery challan. Corresponding is the second, suppose second delivery challan is there, second transportation is there, in that corresponding delivery challan shall be accompanied along with the consignment and the duly certified copy of the invoice. Already invoice we have issued, that copy of the invoice, it shall be duly certified, it shall be furnished along with the delivery challan. First is the supplier shall issue complete invoice before dispatch of the first consignment. In subsequent consignment, he shall issue a delivery challan and giving a reference number of the actual invoice number. And third one, copies of the corresponding delivery challan. Because in third consignment, we have to mention in third consignment, we have to take the first 2 consignment delivery challan copies and along with the duly certified copy of the invoice. Certified copy of the invoice you have to take, and certified copy of the delivery challan already transported, that also you should be accompanied with that transported. Then the original copy of the invoice shall be sent along with the last consignment. When last consignment was sent, in such consignment, the original copy invoice shall be given to the transporter. Understand? Can I repeat again? In case of semi-knockout condition or complete knockout conditions, the supplier shall issue complete invoice before dispatch. And in subsequent invoice, he has to issue a delivery challan and giving a reference number of the invoice. And in the corresponding delivery challan, copies of the corresponding delivery challans and copy of duly certified invoice shall be furnished, shall be with transfer at the time of transport of goods. But the original copy of the invoice shall be sent along with the last consignment. Understand? Okay. Then delivery challan to be issued for the goods moved for supply on approval basis and artwork sent by the artist for galleries. Yes, I cannot read right now, but I can explain the total concept. If any delivery challan is sending, suppose supplier of jewelry, I mean jewelry merchant based in Hyderabad, I can send the goods to Mumbai for exhibit my jewelry. If anyone interested to buy my jewelry at the exhibition conducted at Mumbai, then I can issue tax invoice. At the time of, if the buyer is accepted, then I can issue tax invoice. Otherwise, I can get back, taken back that my gold ornaments. In such a case, only delivery challan I can forward it. I can issue the only delivery challan once the goods are being transported from Hyderabad to Mumbai. If the goods is accepted by the buyer, then I can issue a delivery challan. I can issue a tax invoice. Like that, artwork sent by artist. Artist is there. He has painted some art paintings. The paintings he has taken from Hyderabad to Mumbai. In such a case, first he has to issue delivery challan, because first he has to exhibit such paintings in the exhibition conducted at Mumbai. Once it is any buyer is accepted that painting, then only he can issue tax invoice. Otherwise, he can take back the paintings. Therefore, before accepting once the goods are sending from Hyderabad to the Mumbai for exhibit their pending, only delivery challan can be issued. Only after acceptance, on acceptance by the buyer, tax invoice shall be issued. The same shall be discussed here. You can read at your own because it is only concept. I have explained the concept. Following suppliers may issue a tax invoice, but they are also permitted to issue any other document in lieu of tax invoice. Generally, suppliers shall issue only tax invoice, but in some cases, they are not required to tax invoice. They are issuing some documents, it shall be considered as a tax invoice. That means any person, almost all persons can issue a tax invoice, but in some cases, some persons issuing a document in such it shall be considered as a tax invoice. I can read right now what is that one. First, supplier of taxable services: insurer, banking company, financial institution including non-banking financial corporation. That means insurance company or banking company or financial institutions or non-banking financial corporations. In all these four cases, they are not required to issue tax invoice. That I will read. Serial number not mandatory for a bank or insurance company to serially number the invoice. They are not required to mention the serial number. Second, address of the recipient of taxable service is not required. Next, mandatory information. What are the information mandatory? This is optional. Serial number is not required. Address of the recipient of taxable person is not required. Then next, mandatory. What are the information is required? Other information as prescribed for a tax invoice under Rule 46. That I will read right now. A customer may avail the numerous services from a bank or insurance in a given tax period. Such entities may issue a consolidated tax invoice or statement or advice. Any other document in lieu thereof, by whatever name called, may be issued or made available, physically or electronically, for supply of services made during the month at the end of month. That means, for example, in banking company, they are sending bank statement, monthly bank statement to the customer at the end of the month. For the month of April, they are sending maybe May first week or something the account statement. In such a case, whether the account statement are issued or made available, whether electronically, physically, it shall be treated as a tax invoice. They are not separately issued tax invoice. It is not required. It is not required to issue tax invoice separately. Once the account statements are issued, itself it is a tax invoice. Why? Because they are charging some bank charges. For charging of bank charges, they are not issuing any tax invoice. Simply they are issuing a statement. Itself it is considered as a tax invoice. Understand? For insurance, banking company, financial institutions, they are sending a bank statement. It is considered as a tax invoice only. Even it is made electronically or physically available. Made or available, physically or electronically. However, the signature or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized signature shall not be required. Shall not be required in case of issuance of consolidated tax invoice or any other document in lieu thereof. That means they are sending account statement. They are not signing. Simply they are sending statement. If any statement electronically made available, signature or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized signatory is not required. In case of banking, insurance company, financial institution, non-banking financial institutions, they are sending account statement monthly. So it shall be considered as a tax invoice, and signature of or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized signatory is not required if it is physically or electronically made available. Next, goods transport agency. What is goods transport agency work? They are sending the goods from one place to another place. In such a case, they are issuing only consignment note. Goods transport agencies are usually issuing consignment note. Once they are issuing consignment note, it shall be considered as a tax invoice. They are not separately issued tax invoice. Understand? Then what are the details they are required to be mentioned in such consignment note? The details are gross weight of the consignment, name of the consignor and consignee, registration number of the goods carriage in which the goods are being transported, details of goods transported, date of place of origin, then GSTIN of the person liable for paying tax, whether as a consignor or consignee. Other information is prescribed for tax. That means if a goods transport agency is supplying goods from one place to another place, they simply issued a consignment note. In such consignment note, gross name of the consignor, name of the consignee, description of the goods, value of the goods, rate of tax, date of place of the origin and date of the place of the destination, gross weight, all these details they have to mention. But it shall be, they are not required to issue separate tax invoice. Consignment note shall be considered as a tax invoice. Next, third one. Passenger transportation service. Passenger transportation service, I can give one example. For bus, when you are traveling in a bus, the conductor is issuing a ticket. The ticket itself is considered as a tax invoice. They are not required to issue separate tax invoice. The same you can read right now. Tax invoice shall include ticket in any form by what or name called. Other information as prescribed for tax invoice. Under Rule 40 says, signature, digital signature is not required. In these three cases, first case, banking company, insurance company, financial institution, non-banking financial institutions, they are sending monthly account statement to the account holders on their email ID. It shall be treated as a tax invoice. First case. Second is goods transport agency is issued consignment note. It shall be considered as a tax invoice. No separate tax invoice shall be issued. In case of passenger transport service, they are issuing ticket. Ticket shall be considered as a tax invoice only. In these three cases only, tax invoice not required to issue. Only these tickets or account statement or consignment note is enough. Then next. It is important to note that the keeping in view of the large number of transactions in banking, insurance and passenger transportation service, taxpayers need not mention the address of the customers and the serial numbers in their invoice. That is in first and third case. First and third case. In banking, insurance, financial institutions and non-banking financial institutions and passenger transportation services, there are so many passengers are traveling in a bus. And banking and insurance company daily so many transactions they are doing. In such a case, they are not required to mention the address of the customers. But in goods transportation agency, they have to mention the address of the consignor and consignee. The address of the customers is required. But passenger transportation service, insurance and banking service, they are not required to mention the address of the customer in their invoices. Understand? Okay. Tax invoice in case of input service distributor. Who is input service distributor? He has got the invoices, he has paid the amount to the supplier, so he has input tax credit. Such input tax credit he has passed the input tax credit to the recipient unit. He has already paid the amount, so he is having a input tax credit. Such input tax credit he has passed to his recipient unit. In such a case, what are the details has to be mentioned as in IST, input service distributor, he has to pass the credit. In such a case, what are the details he has to mention in such a IST invoice? Then I can read. Tax invoice in case of input service distributor. An IST invoice or as the case may be, an IST credit note is issued by the IST shall contain the following details. A name, address and GSTN number of the IST, a consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of invoice, name, address and GSTN number of the recipient to whom the credit is distributed. To whom the credit is distributed, an IST distributor has to mention their names and their GST number, amount of credit distributor, signature, digital signature or his authorized representative. That means he has to mention these details when he is passing the credit to the recipient unit. One more point here is what are amount ITC is available to that amount only, to such amount only he is transferring, but more than such amount he is not passing. Suppose 1 lakh credit he is having, so 1 lakh only has to 1 lakh credit has to pass to the recipient unit. He has to pass more than 1 lakh, it is wrong. If IST is having a credit of 1 lakh, only 1 lakh credit has to pass to the recipient unit. It shall not pass more than 1 lakh rupees. Understand? Okay. Next. Then it's small one, it's not required. Then second, a registered person having the same PAN and state code as an IST may issue an invoice, or as the case may be, credit note, debit note, to transfer the credit of the common input service to the IST, which contain the following particulars. Suppose previously what we had done, the IST has passed the credit to the recipient unit, but supplier has to issue the invoice to the IST. Supplier has to issue the invoice to the IST. IST has passed the credit to the recipient unit. IST has passed the credit to the recipient unit. We have discussed. The supplier has to issue invoice to the IST. So what are the details are there in such invoice? Now we are going to discuss. Name and address of the GSTN of the registered person having the same PAN and the same state code. A consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters. Date of issue. GSTN number of the supplier of common service. Who is supplying common service? His number is required. Then name, address and GST number of the IST. Taxable value, rate and amount of the credit to be transferred. Signature, digital signature of the registered person or his authorized signatory or his authorized representative. The taxable value in the invoice issued hereunder shall be the same value as of the common services. Okay. That means how much credit I have, the same amount I can transfer. I can transfer only less amount, but I cannot transfer more than whatever amount I have as ITC credit. Then next one. Tax invoice or bill of supply to accompany transport. Okay, wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Just leave this number, transport. Tax invoice or bill of supply to accompany transport. When the passenger in charge of conveyance, that is transporter, shall accompany along with e-way bill, he has to bring the invoice, tax invoice also. In case of bill of supply, he has to take such bill of invoice. In case where the transport is transporting the goods, he has to furnish the tax invoice or bill of supply, as the case may be, along with the e-way bill. When the e-way bill is required, e-way bill is required if the value of supply exceeds 50,000. If the value of supply exceeds 50,000, he has to take in the e-way bill and he has to take in the tax invoice or bill of supply, as the case may be. Okay. Next. Credit notes and debit notes I can discuss. I cannot read. I can discuss. What is credit note? The value mentioned in the invoice, the rate of tax mentioned in the invoice is higher than the actual value. Understand? The value mentioned in the invoice is 1 lakh. The rate of tax charged in the invoice is 18%, but the actual value is 80,000. But the actual tax rate is 12%. Again, I am repeating. Please concentrate and listen. Amount mentioned in the invoice is 1 lakh. The rate of tax mentioned in the invoice is 18%. But actual supply made is 80,000 only. But the actual rate of tax is 12%. So he has mentioned a higher value than the actual value. In such a case, by mistake supplier sent that invoice. In such a case, the supplier has to issue credit note for difference amount. Suppose previously 80,000, he has mentioned 1 lakh. In such a case, he has to issue credit note for an amount of 20,000. The higher any tax rate, higher tax amount is there, then in such a case also he has to issue credit note. And second one, if the goods sent by the supplier is not accepted by the recipient due to defect of such material. If any material sent by the supplier, it is not acceptable to the recipient because of defect in such material, he can return back such material. In such a case, supplier has to issue revised tax invoice. I can read for your better understanding. Section 34(1) provides that where one or more tax invoice has been issued for the supply of any goods or services, or both, the taxable value of tax charged in that those invoice is found to be exceeded the taxable value tax payable in respect of such supply, or where the goods are supplied or returned by the recipient. The goods supplied or returned, or where the goods or service are both supplied or found to be deficient, it may be defect. In such a case, the registered person who has supplied such goods or services or both may issue to the recipient one or more credit notes for supplies made in a financial year, obtaining the prescribed particulars. You have to mention some particulars and you used to issue credit note. But what is the time limit to issue credit notes? Credit note shall be issued. Credit note already issued to the recipient. Such credit note details has to be mentioned in the return for the month which the credit has been passed. That means credit note already issued. The details has to be mentioned in the return for the month during which such credit has been passed. Suppose August month actually credit note has passed. In August month only you have to file the return. So I have issued so and so credit note. But you shall not mention such credit note details later than September month. For 1920 April 20 to March 21, you have to issue credit note. Such credit note details you have to mention to maximum period to September 21. September 20 to March 21 for credit notes, all credit notes you have to mention immediately. Otherwise, maximum time period for giving such time is not later than September following the end of the financial year or the return date of file of annual return. Actually, September you have to maximum time for mentioning such credit note September month, or time for due date of filing of annual return. Data filing of return for the month of September, data filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. Credit note shall be issued if the value exceeds. Then second case, the credit note shall be mentioned for a maximum period up to September month or data filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. I can read for your better understanding. Any registered person who issue a credit note in relation to supply of goods or services, both shall declare the details of such credit note in the return for the month during which such credit has been passed, but not later than September following the end of the financial year in which such supply was made, or the date of filing of annual return, relevant annual return, that is September return or date of filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. And the tax liability shall be adjusted in such manner as may be prescribed. If the credit note is passed, then you can adjust the tax liability in the corresponding period. That means before the end of the September month or date of filing of annual return, whichever year is earlier, you have to mention such details, and tax liability shall be adjusted. That means tax has to be reduced to such amount, to the extent of such amount, provided that no reduction in output tax liability of the supply shall be permitted if the incidence of tax and interest on such supply has been passed on to any other. That means that any incidence of tax or interest has been passed on to the recipient, so you are not eligible to deduct output tax liability. That means if credit note is issued, your tax will be reduced, but incidence of tax has been passed on to the person, then you are not eligible to reduce your output tax liability. Understand? Then what is the debit note? Credit notes already discussed. What is a debit note? It is reverse of debit notes. Sorry, it is reverse of credit notes, because actual amount mentioned in the invoice is 1 lakh. Actual rate of tax is 18%. I can repeat. Actual amount mentioned in the invoice is 1 lakh. Actual rate of tax is 12%. But real supply is 1,20,000. But rate of tax is 18%. But you have mentioned in the invoice 12%. You have to collect 6% extra. Actual value of you have mentioned in the invoice 1 lakh, but actual real value of supply is 1,20,000. You have to collect extra. You have to pay to the government extra amount. In such a case, you have to issue debit notes for for the difference amount. Actually, the amount mentioned in the invoice is 1 lakh, but actual supply is 1,20,000. So 20,000 you have to issue less invoice for 20,000. In such a case, you have to issue a debit note to the extent of 20,000, to the extent of difference in rate of tax. Sometimes a debit note, sometimes it is nothing but invoice only, additional invoice, because 1 lakh mentioned, remaining 20,000 you have to give another invoice. In such a case, you have to issue debit note, which is also called a supplementary invoice. I can read for better understanding. Where one or more tax invoices have been issued for supply of any goods or services or both, and the taxable value or the tax charged in the tax invoice is found to be less than the taxable value or tax payable in respect of such supply, the registered person who has supplied such goods or services shall issue to the recipient one or more debit notes for the supplies made in a financial year, containing such particulars as may be prescribed. Okay. Same we have discussed, it is mentioned there. Explanation. For the purpose of this act, the expression debit note shall include a supplementary invoice. Understand? Okay. Next concept. Only 2 concepts are pending. I can read right now. Section 32 of the CGST Act. Prohibition of unauthorized collection of tax. That means I am unregistered. I am supplying goods or services. Once I am unregistered, I am not eligible to collect tax for supply of goods or services. And even registered person also has to collect tax as per the provisions of the act. Even as per the provisions of tax, that is only 12%. I am collecting only 12%. Even I am registered. As per the provisions of tax, that is 12%. If I am collecting 18%, that is wrong. That is, no registered person shall collect a tax as except in accordance with the provisions of the act. That means if any unregistered person, he is not eligible to collect tax, and any registered person he can collect a tax as per the provisions of the act. I can read for better understanding. A person who is not a registered person shall not collect in respect of any supply of goods or services or both any amount of tax, any amount by way of tax under this act. That means now if he is a unregistered person, he cannot collect tax. Second point, no registered person shall collect a tax except in accordance with the provisions of this act or the rules made thereunder. That means registered person can collect a tax as per the provisions of the act. He cannot collect tax other than the provisions of the act. That is specified in section 32 of the CGST Act. Understand? Next concept, section 33. Amount of tax to be indicated in tax invoice and other documents. And if I am the registered person, I can issue the tax invoice. In such a tax invoice, I have to separately means the tax amount. Suppose 1 lakh tax value of goods. In such on such goods, the rate of tax 18% of IGST. In such, therefore, 1 lakh value of goods, add 18% IGST, that is 18,000. 1 lakh 18,000. I cannot mention consolidated figure of 1 lakh 18,000. I had to separately mention tax invoice. I had to separately mention the tax amount and tax rate. If it is a CGST of 9% and SGST of 9%, 1 lakh. CGST at the rate of 9% is equal to 9,000. SGST at the rate of 9% is equal to 9,000. Therefore, total amount is 1,18,000. I cannot issue the tax invoice for a consolidated amount of 1,18,000. I can separately mention the tax rate and tax amount. Understand? I can read right now. Notwithstanding anything contained in this act or any other law for the time being in force, where any supply is made for a consideration, every person who is liable to pay tax for such supply shall prominently indicate in all documents relating to assessment, tax invoice and other like documents the amount of tax which shall form part of the price at which such supply is made. That means you have to separately mention the tax rate and tax invoice in all the tax invoice and other documents. Other documents are there. In other documents also they have to mention separately. Understand? I think you enjoyed the chapter. Thank you very much.